There is something nobody tells you when you reach this point in life. The patience, the quiet, the way you think before you speak, the way you sit with things longer than most people are comfortable with. All of it has been called a weakness. It wasn't. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what it actually is. It's not because you're slow. The world changed in a way that punishes people like you. Have you felt it? That sense of being in a room, but not quite of it? Everyone else tuned to a different frequency? The conversation moved faster than you could follow. People laughed before the punchline, and you sat there, wondering, maybe something was wrong with you. Too slow, too quiet, too careful, too interested in things that didn't pay off fast, too careful where everyone else just reacted. I've taken 70 years to understand what that actually was. And once you see it, really see it, you cannot unsee it. What I'm about to show you will completely change how you see yourself. Nothing was wrong with you. Nothing at all. You were built for a different pace, a different kind of depth. Let me tell you what they called people like us. Slow. They used that word like it was a diagnosis, like it explained everything, as if slow was the opposite of capable. It never was. They called us boring because we didn't chase every shining thing, old-fashioned because we finished what we started, disconnected because we didn't need noise to feel alive. I heard those words for decades, and for a long time I believed them. There were mornings I woke up and wondered if the slow path was a mistake, watched others move faster and collect what looked like proof they were right. For years. Here's the truth those words were hiding. Those were descriptions of their discomfort, not our failure. They needed speed to feel relevant. We needed depth to feel real. Two different systems, neither wrong, just built for different purposes. And one of them ages considerably better. I want to be careful here. The world needs fast people too. Some of the greatest people I've known moved fast and burned bright. But for some of us, the world never quite made room. Not yet. That was the part nobody told us. The encouragement never came. So I moved without it. Here's the moment, the flip. Pay attention to this part. The world optimizes for one thing at a time. Right now, it's speed. First opinion wins. Loudest voice sets the agenda. First opinion wins. For a certain kind of mind, that world is home. And that's a real thing. But it is not the permanent one. The world that rewards speed early burns people out. By 40, by 50, before the interesting work even begins. You are not behind. You are not optimized for a broken system. That's very different. A broken system cannot measure what you are. The ruler is bent. The traits that made you feel wrong were your design features, not your defects. Not defects, your actual build. And the world eventually rewards what it was built on, not on noise, on foundations, on things that actually hold under weight. I have watched this long enough to know. The slow-built things stand. The fast-built things impress early and crumble quietly. That's the flip. That's the whole thing. Let's talk about what you actually have. These are not consolations. These are actual advantages, built in, yours permanently. First, you don't chase noise, and that means better decisions, every time, without exception. You separate the signal from the noise. The person who doesn't react immediately looks slow from the outside, but inside they're doing something the reactors never manage. They separate the signal from the noise every single time. I've made decisions that changed my life by not deciding quickly, by waiting, by letting the emergency prove whether it actually was one. Most emergencies don't. They dissolve in a week without your help. That is not passivity. That is the highest form of discernment. The world calls it hesitation. The world is wrong about this. The deliberate mind is not the slow mind, it is the accurate mind. And over a lifetime, the accurate mind makes fewer wrong turns, fewer relationships entered wrong, fewer jobs taken for the wrong reasons, fewer years spent in rooms that were never yours to begin with. The slow decision is often the right decision. This is not a comfort, this is a competitive advantage, and you have had it your whole life. Most people never realize they have it. They spend it unknowingly. You have been using it carefully without knowing what you are protecting, and it is worth far more than you have been told. Far more. Second advantage, you can sit with boredom. Enormous. The modern world has declared boredom a failure state, a pathology to be treated. If you are bored, you must be stimulated immediately, any cost, any source. But the person who can tolerate boredom is the person who can actually think. Not scroll think, not reaction think, actual thought. The kind of thought that only arrives when there is nothing pressing in on it. All the best ideas I have ever had came from doing nothing productively, from long walks with no destination, from sitting in a room with nothing to do and not trying to fix that. The mind, when not managed, does its best work. Let that land. People pay significant sums of money now to learn to do what you do naturally. They call it mindfulness now. You have been doing it your entire life, without the app, without the subscription, without the guided audio, without anyone telling you it was valuable. You just lived it. That is the second advantage, and it compounds. Every year you spend comfortable with silence builds something no school teaches. Third advantage. You don't need constant input to feel like yourself. Independence. The real kind. Not the word, the experience of it. Most people require external confirmation to know they exist. They need to be seen to feel real, heard to feel they exist. You don't need that. And for years, you probably thought it was a problem. It's not. It is one of the rarest things a person can have in the modern world. To be alone with yourself and find it sufficient, not just tolerable, sufficient. To think your own thoughts, follow your own thread, without anyone's approval. Your inner life matters, without audience, without permission, without a platform. These things have always mattered. The world is only now catching up to knowing it. The ability to be sufficient in yourself means you make decisions for better reasons. You are not staying out of fear, or habit, or lack of options. You are staying because you actually know what you want. That is the third advantage, and it is more powerful than it sounds. Fourth, this one took me the longest to value. Moving slower means fewer mistakes, far fewer. Over a lifetime, the gap between them is enormous. Speed creates wreckage. I have seen it enough times to stop being surprised. Relationships entered too fast, left too fast, never fully understood. Decisions made on incomplete information. Commitments broken before they were honored. I've watched people arrive at 70 exhausted, wondering where it went, what they built, whether it holds, whether they were actually there for it. The slow ones, we know what we built. We were there for all of it, the ordinary Tuesdays and the extraordinary ones. I was there for all of it. That is what I'm most proud of. Not the fastest, not the most decorated, but I was present. And presence, it turns out, is the whole thing. Not the award, not the salary, not the recognition that came early. Presence. That's what endures. That's what they remember you for. The fourth advantage is this. Fewer wrong turns means more of the right ones. More of the right relationships, the right work, the right life. More of the things you look back at without regret. I look back without much regret. This is rarer than it sounds. The slow life looks like losing early. It looks like winning eventually. Now, let's talk about where this actually leads, where the slow path goes. The world rewards speed early. This will continue. The fast movers get the early recognition, the early money, the early status. I won't pretend that didn't sting when I was young. It did.
There were years I wondered, but watch what happens at 40, at 50, at 60. Watch carefully. The quiet one who never chased noise has a body that still works, a mind still curious, still asking questions nobody younger has thought to ask, a body that has not been burned through by decades of unnecessary urgency, a network of relationships still functional because they were built over time, not collected, cultivated.
There is a difference. Skills so developed that people come to you specifically, by name. That is the pivot. That is the moment depth stops being a liability and becomes the most important thing in the room. The world starts asking different questions when it finally understands not who's quickest, who has been paying attention for the longest, who has actually seen this before and knows what it leads to. Those questions always go to the one who moved slowly. Every generation eventually notices, usually late, but they notice. The deep one, the patient one, the one who always seemed slightly out of step, turns out to have been building something nobody else was building. While everyone else was running the visible race, you were building depth, and depth is the only thing that holds. The world will need it. It already does. It is beginning to know this, and you will be there, ready, because you have been preparing for this your whole life. Every year of patience was preparation. You just did not have the name for it. Every uncomfortable silence you sat with was practice. Every moment you chose depth over noise was a deposit in an account that is now full, and you are about to begin drawing from it. The most interesting work of your life may well be in front of you, not behind. I want to close with something personal, something I don't often say aloud. I spent years believing I was assembled incorrectly, that the pace I moved at was a flaw, that somewhere there was a better version, a faster version, a louder one, a more appropriate one for this time. I don't believe that anymore. I haven't for a very long time, and the freedom that comes with that is real, because the world does not need more noise. It has an abundance of noise. What it needs, what it badly needs, is people who can still think their own thoughts, who can sit in a room without filling every silence with something disposable, who can take the long view, understand the pattern, hold steady under pressure, who have been practicing depth their whole lives without knowing what to call it. That practice has a name now. It's been given one at last. It's called wisdom, and it belongs to you. It has always belonged to you. Not because you studied for it, because you stayed. Because you didn't abandon yourself when the world suggested you should. When everyone said speed up, you kept going at the pace that was actually yours. Yours. That matters more than anyone told you it did. More than the prize, more than the recognition, more than the early money. If this found you today, it found you at exactly the right moment. Because you are exactly the kind of person this was always for. The patient one, the careful one, the one who finished what they started, the one who sat with the silence, who didn't need the noise to feel real, the one who built something slowly and found it was still standing. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. I mean that. I mean every word of that. I'll be here. You know where to find me. The lamp is always on, the door is always open. This was always your frequency. You have been on it your whole life. Welcome home.